Well, hi once again, everybody. Welcome into what's going to be another, an awesome edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Thank you for joining us on whatever site you are on. And if it's asking you for, comments, please give us a comment, give us some likes. Please share the show. We're on multiple social media platforms. We appreciate all the help that we can get. And again, we've got another terrific show with another terrific guest. The weather here in Las Vegas is getting better and better. It's kind of like the mid 60s now. The sun is out. People are getting out in the golf course more, getting away from that really, really cold weather. No more frost delays. So we hope whatever part of the country you're enjoying some good weather as well. Got a sad note to mention. I've crossed paths with this gentleman a couple of times in the past. And if you're in the golf world at all, you know the name Tim Rosafort, who was a golf writer, a golf journalist, years with Golf Digest. And of course, he was a staple on the Golf Channel, covered multitudinous major championships and tournaments. Unfortunately, Tim passed away the other day, very, very unfortunate at really an early age. I think he was 66. So our deep condolences to his family and his friends and everybody, and he is going to be missed. Anyway, getting onto a happier note, let me tell you a little bit about our great guest today before we bring him up. Dr. Greg Steinberg is regarded really as one of the top experts anywhere in human performance. Greg studied performance psychology at UC Santa Barbara. I happen to went there for one semester, and it's right, it's just an awesome part of California. And then he went to Florida State University to get his master's degree, and then on to the University of Florida for his doctorate in human performance. Greg works with touring professionals, not only on the PGA Tour and LPGA tours, but with athletes from multiple sporting arenas. Not only is Greg considered a great performance coach, but is also a top-selling author. We'll talk about some of his books, and a much sought-after keynote speaker. Dr. Steinberg is also a tenured professor of human performance at Austin Peay University, just outside the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. And I just had some very dear friends move there from California, and they are loving it. And also, very important, he is also involved with the International Golf Psychology Association, which we will talk about as well. So right now, it's my pleasure. Let's bring up Dr. Greg Steinberg. And Greg, welcome to the show. I know you've got a busy schedule, my man, and I want to thank you for taking time out. My first question to you is, if my first name were Greg, I would spell it with two G's as well. How did that come about?
Well, I got an extra G in case I lose one. It comes from, if your name is Gregory, you usually have one G.
One G.
If your name is Greg, you have two.
Yeah.
But my mom thought, I was always losing stuff, so it'd be better to add an extra G.
I agree. I know that's the way to go. That's the way to go with it. Greg, you've worked with and have seen a hell of a lot of different types of personalities over your professional career. What type of personality would you say works best for mental performance? Or is that even possible to answer?
Well, I think it's difficult to answer because, as we know, everybody has different personalities. There's not one right personality or wrong personality that makes a great golfer. And I don't think there's one personality that works better with someone like me. I do believe people that have maybe had a little more of a hardship growing up are more appreciative of the mental game. One of the things I've noticed is when, for instance, a father calls me and wants me to work with their son,
right,
who's struggling. If he comes from a well-off family. Sometimes he's maybe a little bit harder to kind of crack that nut. I
Uh-huh.
think if because he's spoiled. I think the less spoiled you are, the more you're appreciative of what the mental game and what I do. That's the only maybe facet that I've seen is different.
Yeah, no, and that's a good answer, and I can understand that very very well. Not that I come from a wealthy family or anything, but do you find that in general, Greg, it's easier to work with men or women? And I know you have a lot of women and a lot of men as well, and I guess some younger people. But what men or women are easier to work with, and why, if they
Well,
are?
I've worked with both men and women. One of my favorite teams I've ever worked with was the women's lacrosse team at Vanderbilt. They were awesome, and women's lacrosse is such a great sport. But I think women might be a little bit more open to expressing their emotions, to understanding their feelings, and then also working on that. I don't think it's not necessary that men don't like to do that, but if you're going to compare men and women, I think women are more open to working on the mental game and allowing someone like myself to move them in the right direction.
Gotcha, gotcha. Years back, Greg, and I'm a decent player, but I never gave the credence to how important performance psychology is, the mental game is, until just really a few years back, and it really is. What can you do as an expert in your field to sell it, to make it more sexy where golfers want to get involved in that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I teach sports psych at Austin Peay State University, and I taught at the University of Florida. And I open the class with this little show, and I say, if I squeeze this orange, what comes out? Orange juice, right?
Right.
Never pineapple juice, always orange
Orange
juice.
juice.
Exactly. And the other second question is why? Why does orange juice come out? And the answer is because that is what is inside.
Right.
And the third question I always ask everybody, my students and the athletes I work with, is what have you put inside? Because if you put in fear and negativity and doubt, that's what comes out when you get squeezed. And we all get squeezed on the golf course. We all get squeezed in life. But the greatest athletes, the greatest golfers, they put in confidence and peace of mind and joy. So when they get squeezed, because they get squeezed just like us, that's what comes out under pressure.
True.
And so it's always my goal to put in the right mental juice so that when you get squeezed, you raise your game under pressure.
That's very well said. On the other hand, let me be a little bit of a contrarian here, Doctor, and say you have a mid-handicapper that has worked with you for a while, and he's feeling really good about his confidence and this and that and the other. But he goes to a golf course and he tees it up on number one, and he's got to carry water about 200 yards. How much confidence do you think the guy has? I mean, that's
Well,
going to shake you up a little bit, isn't it?
exactly. And confidence is a factor of many things. It's what you think, like imagery, what you say, and also the most key ingredient is what you do. And if you're a golfer and you can barely carry it 200 yards, you're not going to be confident that you're going to carry water 200 yards.
Right.
But if you typically carry it 250 yards, then you're going to be very confident.
Right.
And what you say and your images are going to facilitate that confidence. So you have to be able to do it first for you to have confidence. And no matter, I tell people, if you can't do it, all this other stuff is not going to work. So the meat is, the accomplishment, and your thinking and your feeling, your emotions are like the spices. And those are very important, but you have to be able to do it. It's like I tell my students, I'm 5'8". I can't dunk a basketball. There's no way I can believe I can dunk it. No matter how much imagery I use, I'm still not going to believe I can dunk it, no matter what I say or how I feel. So you got to be able to do it because I can't even touch the net. So the idea is you have to be able to do it first, and then the other stuff comes into play.
Yeah, that makes, and that brings me, that's perfect, Doc. That brings me to my next question. If someone really wanted to become a good golfer or even an elite player that you work with, is he or she more dependent on a great mental skill or great mechanics?
Well, I always say golf is 100% mental, 100% physical. You can't tease one from the other because when you're thinking well, you're going to play well. And when you're playing well, you get this upward spiral. On the flip side, when you're thinking bad and it's going to make you play bad, you get this downward spiral. So they're totally interconnected. And the physical part is huge. You know, being on planes, starting with your legs, that's real important. And no one's going to ever say that's not important. And the mind's not going to overcome that.
Right.
But the mind and the body are one when it comes to playing your best golf. And you got to work on both. Most people, they only work on the physical side.
Right.
So it's like playing golf with one hand. You got to work on the mental side. So now you're playing golf with two hands, and then you can play your best.
How can I work on the mental side, Doc, when I'm off the golf course, or is that possible?
Well, of course, there's a lot of things you can do. Imagery is one of the key ingredients. I was just seeing a 60 Minutes. They were interviewing kickers, and Morten Andersen, right, the famous kicker. He said the night before games, he would go through and use, it's called imagery rehearsal, going over different situations over and over in his mind so that when he was in the game, he felt comfortable.
Right.
And so a lot of, I would say, skill sets that I try to promote is using imagery before you walk onto the golf course so that you're ready mentally and emotionally. And, you know, a lot of people say when you use imagery, which is one of the key ingredients to the mental game,
right,
it almost feels like you've done it and you've been there. And so you feel more comfortable. I mean, there's just so many skill sets you can use off the golf course, like meditation. One of the things that I teach in sports psych in my class every session is I teach the students how to meditate.
Ooh.
Because once you learn to meditate, when you get on the golf course, you're going to be a lot calmer. We know that anxiety is very powerful.
Yeah.
But relaxation is also powerful.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is once you learn to relax, the relaxation skill is actually more powerful than the anxiety. But if you don't learn to relax, anxiety is more powerful than relaxation. So the secret is you must learn the relaxation response, let's say through meditation.
Yeah.
And once you learn that off the golf course, you bring that onto the golf course, like at the first tee,
right,
pre-shot routine, whatever it is. But you have to learn that powerful response off the golf course to bring it onto the golf course.
No, I agree with that totally. And again, that's well said. And that brings me into also, so you must be a very, very strong advocate for a good pre-shot routine.
Well, if you're not, you're in trouble. But you know what I say is people think the pre-shot routine is maybe what you think and what you do, but that's not really all it is. It's really putting a bubble around you. So the best pre-shot routine is putting a bubble around you, filling yourself with the right mental juice so the pressure bounces off that bubble. And you fill the juice with imagery, with thoughts, with being reactive, with being relaxed. And so that bubble that you've placed around you basically protects you from all that pressure that is bombarding you being, on the golf course with your buddies or in competition,
right,
whatever
right.
it is. So one of the key things in sports psych, yes, is a pre-shot routine, but it's doing it correctly. And
right.
I say a routine has the 3 R's: relaxation, being reactive, and being rhythmical. And when you have those 3 in your routine's going to be pretty effective for handling the pressure.
Yep. I agree with that too. It's very, very important, and I know personally I'm kind of learning the importance of that as well. And you're right. If you could learn to relax and kind of let it go, it makes, at least for me personally, and I'm sure other people, it makes such such a huge difference. Let me ask you this before we take our first break, Doc. There's an expression that you and every golfer has said or heard a zillion times. I can't take it to the first tee. They're on the range, they're practicing, they're striping it. I can't take it to the first tee. What's causing that?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I talk about that a lot. And I have mentioned that Golf Digest did a survey and they said the number one gripe of golfers is not being able to take their best swings from the range to the golf course.
Yeah.
And the best way to explain it is this: the range is one animal and the competition is another animal, or the golf course. The farther those animals are apart, the less your game transfers. The closer those animals are, the more your game transfers. That's what we're talking about, is transfer of your skill set from the range to the golf course. And so how to get them closer is, when you're on the range, you have to put pressure on yourself. You have to, let's say you're on the range, you create a real tight fairway and you can't, you have to hit 10 drivers in that fairway or you're not going to lead. Whatever it is, you put a lot of pressure on the range when you're putting, and it becomes more like the golf course. And on the golf course, when you get more relaxed and more focused, it becomes more like the range. So you got to work on both. And as they get closer and closer, they're never going to be the same. But as they get closer and closer, that's when your game will transfer more.
Got it. Got it. Makes perfect sense. All right, I'll tell you what, we're going to step away. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to have a lot more with Dr. Greg Steinberg. Stay with us. We are back right after this.
When I first learned about Encore, I was a little taken back because I didn't know much about the ball. I went out and played a couple rounds with it, and I was just extremely surprised how this ball made up for what I was looking for in a golf ball 20 years ago. It's a very straight ball. It launches a little higher than other balls that I've used, which is ideal for the tour because we're playing firm and fast greens. A lot of the balls do fly very similar, but this ball reacts so much differently around the greens and inside 100 yards than any other ball I've ever played. The combination of this ball is the best ball that I've ever played.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the lag shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag Shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the Lag Shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. Visit lagshotgolf.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Continuing our conversation with Dr. Greg Steinberg about human performance and things. Doctor, how are you able to teach someone or coach someone good performance skills when, I'm thinking of the best way to put it, they've been a chop for years. They have struggled with their golf game. They've had a terrible golf game for years. They beat themselves up. How are you able to turn them around?
Well, having effective habits is key, and they've developed bad habits. So what happens, like I was mentioning before, when they get squeezed, which is anxiety, pressure, their bad habits come out.
Yeah.
And so you got to put in the right juice. If let's say they're not, a scratch golfer, but they're a 20 handicapper and they have problems playing great golf on the course, and you're trying to work on the mental game. I think you can, let's say, teach them better by showing them how it works on the short game. If you show them visualization skills, when you putt, everyone can putt better.
Yeah.
And chipping and pitching, then they buy into it. And most of the time with a 20 handicapper, and let's say they shoot, 90, if they work on their short game, and the short game is mainly, it's technique, but it's also a lot of feel. And feel comes from the mind, visualization.
Right.
If you show them how to get into the feel zone, which I call it, they're going to be better at the short game. When they're better at the short game, their scores are going to lower, and then they're going to buy into this mental game skill set that they have to develop.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this then. Well, first of all, please define the word confidence for us. And why is it so damn hard to capture for most golfers? And that leads me into a follow-up, which would be, is there really such a thing as getting in the zone? Because if it is, I sure don't find it very often.
Well, those are two separate questions. And the first question related to confidence, it's easy to lose. And also that could be a bad habit. Losing your confidence easily is a bad habit. Keeping your confidence is a good habit.
Yeah.
So you got to develop that as a habit. Now, what is confidence? It's really a belief set that you are going to be effective at this next task. And if it's golf, it'd be hitting the golf shot. And you can do that by having a few things in your, let's say, back pocket. You can have an image of yourself swinging. Let's say you hit a 5-iron and you nutted a 5-iron last week. You have that in your back pocket. I call that a golden nugget. And you kind of recall that feeling. You can also write down in a book maybe a couple rounds that you had in the last month that you played really well. And you look at that book before you play. And then, at night you see yourself playing well. You practice positive thinking and positive, which self-talk is the key, telling yourself, I'm going to hit a good shot. And I like to say I choose to be confident, because confidence is a choice. Now, what people don't appreciate about confidence is you have a choice to be confident. And it doesn't matter how bad you're playing, you can still choose to be confident. And when you choose to be confident, you increase the probability of playing well. It doesn't mean you're going to play well. It just means you increase the probability.
Right.
So the best thing your listeners can take from the confidence question is you can always choose to be confident. And if you make that choice, then you're increasing the probability of playing well.
Okay.
Now with the flow or the zone, that's a totally different question. And everybody gets in the zone different. Some people are nervous before, some people are relaxed, some people have high intensity, low intensity. So the best thing that I always do is I say, tell me a time you were in the zone and describe what it was feeling, what you were feeling, what were you thinking? And if you can create, ask them, 3 or 4 different times they were in the zone and find these patterns. Maybe it was high intensity, but they were calm. And they had, and they were totally confident, and they had, whatever it is, and you try to replicate that so that they're more likely to get in the zone. Just because you have those thoughts and those feelings doesn't mean you're going to get in the zone.
Right.
Again, it's the same thing as confidence. You're increasing the probability of playing better. Now, finding the zone, people call that this magical, mystical, play.
Right.
And again, the secret is not to try to get to the zone. It's try to always play your best golf under pressure. And that's the goal, because when you say, I'm going to try to get you in the zone, it's almost impossible, because sometimes it's fleeting. It's hard to get. But what's more, there's a greater probability of you playing better under pressure. And that's what you should seek.
Absolutely. I find that I get in the zone fairly easily, Doc. I guess I'm lucky because that's commensurate with the amount of beer that I'm drinking on the golf course. So, everybody's a little bit different. I'm curious to get your answer on this. I have a lot of tour professionals on the show, everybody's game at one time or another starts to go south on the golf course. I go, what the hell do you do to get it into the clubhouse when your game starts going south? What should people do when their mental acuity starts going south on the golf course?
Well, I mean, it's both. The mental and the physical are tied in, and everybody's game does go south. And the secret is knowing that when your games go south, I'm not saying the exact solution, but having a few different strategies to kind of get you back on track.
Yep.
And that's what the best athletes do, because we always get off track during a season, during a round, and accepting that is the first key. And the second key is saying, okay, I'm off track. How can I get back on track? And having some strategies. It's like having an adversity plan. You hit your ball in a divot. If you have a plan for that, then you're going to be calm, cool, and collected and hit a good shot. Well, the same thing goes with when your game gets off track. Having a plan for that and accepting that and knowing that's going to happen and then implementing those strategies is going to keep you cool, calm, and collected, so that eventually you're going to get off that downward slide and get back up the peak where you want to be.
Yeah, as far as the divot goes, I've always got a plan for that. It's a 15th club. It's called a foot wedge. I try to use it, very discreetly. Anyway, we're going to step away again, Doc, and take another short break. And when we come back, I want to ask you about the International Golf Psychology Association that you are so much a part of. So stay with us. We're going to have a lot more when we come back.
Experience a salon like no other. Charm Beauty Lounge specializes in hair, skin, and a non-surgical, painless way to fuller hair, designed to boost hair volume up to 400% without glue or solvents. Make your appointment today. Call 702-201-1655.
Hey beautiful, come on in. Charm Beauty Lounge. Charm Beauty Lounge.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over, because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55 or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at encoregolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to encoregolf.com and see for yourself. Your scores will love you for it. That's ONCORE golf.com. All right, welcome back to more of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Want to welcome a brand new advertiser, Charm Beauty Lounge. They are amazing for both men and women, and I know from what I speak. And next week, I'm going to show you some pictures about what they do, and it's going to blow you away. So we're very, very happy to have them. All right, back to our discussion with performance psychologist Dr. Greg Steinberg. Tell us about the IGPA that you are associated with. How did it start? What is it? What's its purpose? Let us have it.
So the IGPA is the International Golf Psychology Association. And we started being affiliated with the United States Golf Teaching Federation, which is, they have 20,000 teachers throughout the country. And the goal was to help them teach their students to work on the mental game. And I was the lead sports psychologist for them. And so I created an online course with a few other people. I ran basically the videos and all the content, but we have a board that helps with some decision making and things like that. But basically, the course, which is at masteringgolfpsychology.com, masteringgolfpsychology.com, has a free ebook. It has actually it has 5 sections. One section is awareness, confidence, concentration, overcoming anxiety, motivation. Each section has videos, articles, and applied exercises
Cool.
for you to master the mental game. And it also has, you can see the free confidence section on the site as well if you just go to sample course. The goal was that people throughout the world are trying to master the mental game. And there's some books out there that are good, but I think people want videos. They also want articles, but they also want applied exercises. And I've been doing it for 30 years. So I'm giving them 30 years of my experience in this course. So that's really what it's about. And we actually have a course in Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, Thai.
Impressive.
Yeah. And we're trying to get in German too.
Impressive. That is now. How often do you do in-person teaching, in-person classes over and above the online stuff?
Yeah. So we've had a lot of people take the course, and then what I try to do is about twice a year do a master's course where for 3 nights, like say Wednesday night, for 3 nights consecutive, 3 weeks in a row, I do a live master course where people can ask questions, we interact.
Right.
And so it's kind of basically continuing education. Also, I forgot to mention that the online golf psychology course by the IGPA is approved by the PGA of America and the LPGA for continuing education. So they evaluated it and they believed it had a lot of merit, and so they approved it.
That is very good. So when are you going to come out to Las Vegas to do one of these things?
Anytime you invite me, we set it up, and we'll work on your mental game, because I think using the beers is one thing, but the actual strategies is probably better.
I love that. You, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Greg, you work with not only golfers but athletes of all different kinds of genres. Is the message that you give to everybody pretty much the same, or do you adjust it, so to speak, if the guy's in the NFL, if he's in the NBA, if he's whatever?
I mean, it's very similar. It really depends more on the person than the sport. But if I'm working with a football player, getting them to say, you got to be totally calm and relaxed is not going to work, because
Right.
their intensity level has to be here. So sometimes we have to get their intensity level really high. But they still have to work on things like confidence and imagery and believing in themselves. And when they're in a slump, you got to do similar stuff. So I think you have to fix it up a little bit for the sport, or if I'm working with a business person. But ultimately, I believe if it's a true principle of performance, it should go across any genre. And so, and that's my belief. And so I typically take those principles and apply it across any sport or any situation.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. All right. Before we get on to your books, which I want to talk about, which I have not received any of your books, by the way, which I'm kind of disappointed, but I'm going to send you my address. I would love to get 1 or 2 of them because they're very good. What really sets Greg Steinberg apart from all of the other mental coaches, all of the other people that teach the mental game, and there are many. So what sets you apart, Doc?
Again, I mean, I think there's a lot of great sports psychologists out there. And so, I don't want to say that I'm this magical person and I can get you in the peak performance state with 5 easy steps. When you see people start saying that, you better run.
Yeah.
The only difference I'd say for me that I can just say about myself is not only do I teach it, so I know the research, not only have I worked with athletes and professional golfers, so I know the applied work, but I'm also a competitive golfer. And I was a competitive tennis player, so I know what it feels like to choke. I know what it feels like to feel anxiety. I know what it feels like to let my game takes the train out for the rest of the the season.
Yeah.
So I have that empathy. So I think, it's a little bit different because I think some sports psychologists, they don't teach it, so they might not know the research. They're good at
Right.
applied, but
Right.
or they work with golfers, but they're not that good, and so they really don't get it. So like, what happens if like a PGA pro calls me, I actually play with them, because I can play. They see that, and I build credibility that way. And we actually go play, and I can see a lot of stuff when I
Great
play with
point.
them, or a
Great
college
point.
kid or a junior. And so you build credibility right away. And I think that's a big difference too. I think being able to play at a high level, which I can, I think really facilitates my ability to apply the knowledge to their game.
That's a great point. And what you have just done, Greg, is when you come out here to play golf, you just talked yourself into giving me two aside. So, with because I know you're.
I'll give you 3 aside. Don't worry.
Oh my God, that's perfect. That is perfect. All right, tell us about some of the books you've authored. Full Throttle, Flying Lessons, which intrigued me. I happen to be a private pilot, and Fall Up, which I think is great. The Mental Rules for Golf. Tell us a little bit about those. Tell us, I know they're still available. You should get them. How do people find them? And what was the emphasis for writing these books?
Well, the first book I wrote was Mental Rules for Golf, and it was basically my experiences working with athletes and my teaching knowledge, and so I combined research and applied. And then I wrote this book called Flying Lessons. It has nothing to do with flying, that's
Right,
just the
I know.
title. But it has to do with helping parents become a sports psychologist for their kids. And then I wrote Full Throttle, which was basically business psychology, dealing the sports psychology of business and applying that. And then my latest book is called Fall Up, which is a little bit different. It's about, I interviewed these people that had terrible tragedy throughout the world, and they explained how they went from tragedy to transcendence. And they went through these stages. And in the book, I outline the stages. So I help people who have had, a tragedy, but you don't need a tragedy to deal with to, let's say, enjoy this book. It basically shows you how you use adversity and hardships to basically find this life song, which I call, or your true purpose in life.
Yeah.
And that's really the transcendence. So that's basically falling up.
Yeah. No, I highly recommend it. Where can people find them, Doc?
Any good bookstore, any online bookstore, Amazon, you name it. It's out there.
Okay.
So it's all depending on where you look. I mean, you could find them anywhere.
Okay. And I'd love to get my hands on one. Seriously, I'd love to get a nice inscription, and
send me your address.
I would very much appreciate it. All right, before I let you go, what's on the agenda for Dr. Greg Steinberg? Where do you go from here? What do you plan for 2022?
Well, we can all hope COVID mellows out, of course, and we can start. I really didn't like traveling that much. Now I'm going to probably travel a little more and speak. But I'm a full-time professor, so I'm teaching class. I enjoy playing golf. I have a young son who I try to teach golf. So, I'm just doing the same things I'm doing, spreading the knowledge of peak performance to people, through my courses, and I'm, always working on something, a new book or something.
Yeah.
So it should be a good year.
Yeah, no, you're staying busy. You're staying busy, and that's great. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. Thank you again for coming on. Great information. I'm sure that viewers are going to really enjoy it. We'd love to get you back on sooner than later, obviously. Work on something, hopefully, to get you out here to Las Vegas so we could do something, and people would enjoy hearing you. And hopefully getting out and teeing it up a little bit. And I appreciate your time.
Yeah, again, Dennis, great. Thanks for having me. It looks like behind you laid up, and I would have told you not to lay up on that hole.
I did lay up. You're up.
Oh yeah.
That's very observant.
I would have told you to go for it, especially if I was begging.
Yep. No, I love it. I love it. Anyway, Doctor, thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks again. You're welcome. Dr. Greg Steinberg, everybody. All right, we're going to
We're going to come up with our game improvement tip for you right now by Scratch Golf Academy in Naples, Florida, by the great Adam Bazalgette, 3-time PGA Teacher of the Year. It's fantastic. And a commercial will come back. We'll wrap up the show.
Hi, Adam Bazalgette here from Scratch Golf Academy with another game improvement tip for the 19th hole podcast for golfers. Let's talk today. I have my driver here about first tee jitters. Hey, who doesn't get them, especially if it's a situation you're not fully comfortable with, you don't know the people you're playing, whether it's the club championship or something like that. Couple of things, 3 thoughts really. Number 1, when you're getting ready to hit, make sure that last practice swing is all the way through at regular speed, no stops, no starts, get that rhythm. Once you've done that, you've just got to get over the ball. Let's try one here. And you've just pretty much got to trust it and go with what you've got. You'll do better even if your swing is medium, if your mind is quiet. Hope this helps.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to we're closing up the 19th hole podcast for golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers. Of course, we come to you live every week from the great Rigel Studios right here in the heart of Las Vegas. I want to thank Dr. Steinberg for being a great guest on the show. Next week, we've got a very, very interesting guest for you. It's a little bit different. We're going back to the politics, and you know I love politics. Guy Noro is a candidate for governor in the state of Nevada. Very, very interesting story. I think you're going to find him very interesting, so we hope you make sure to tune in. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up. We wish you nothing but fairways and greens, and we're going to see you back same place, same time next week. So long, everybody.